Part 116. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1151. The moment the clone of the Black Feather God took action, the two 8th level deities of the winged demon who flew with the clone also took action at the same time. One of the 8th level winged demon lords shook his wings, and behind him, a pair of huge metal wings suddenly appeared. Each feather of the metal wings was made of metal, and the feathers were flashing with red light and strange runes. As the 8th level god stretched out his hand, thousands of feathers on the metal wings flew away from the wings, like a handful of blood-red arrows, fiercely heading towards the three. The airspace where the person was blasted over, drawing thousands of bloody lines in the sky, and the entire sky seemed to be cut open. Another 8th level winged demon lord also threw out a huge bronze metal skull. The skull was in the air and was as big as a house. After it was thrown out, the eyes of the huge bronze skull shone brightly. The entire skull suddenly burned, like a bloody sun, flying into the sky, illuminating the sky and the earth within thousands of square kilometers, and then showered the three people here with red light. The next flames, which started out like rain, turned into thousands of flame streams in the blink of an eye, carrying terrifying high temperatures, sweeping towards the three people from all directions in the sky. Under the high temperature of the flames, the rocks on the surrounding mountains instantly dissolved and turned into dark red magma flowing to the ground. As soon as the two 8th level winged demon lords took action, Xuanhuan knew that the two 8th level winged demon lords were not avatars of the Black Feather God, but the top powerhouses among the demons. Because they took action, the things, the pair of huge metal wings, and the bronze skull are all natal artifacts they refined, and the clone of the Black Feather God does not have natal artifacts. At this time, there is no nonsense, just one word: fight. Facing the opponent's attack, Xuanhuan rushed forward without even thinking, roared, and punched 3 times in succession, one punch hitting the clone of the Black Feather God, and the second punch hitting the thousands of bloody arrows. The third punch hit the skull that was spraying flames in the sky. After advancing to the 8th level Divine Master, Xuanhuan's Imperial Divine Fist was different from before. When he punched out, a golden mountain hit the opponent, completely ignoring the distance. The first golden mountain appeared directly on top of the Black Feather God's clone's head. This punch actually directly attacked the three of them. The second golden mountain blocked the air from thousands of blood-red arrows. The third golden mountain blasted directly towards the burning bronze skull in the sky. The clone of the Black Feather God had a cruel and disdainful smile on his face at first, and punched the golden mountain above his head, but as soon as the two forces came into contact, his expression suddenly changed. The power, texture, and power of the fist were completely different from when he fought with Xuanhuan before. The power was almost 10 times greater, and there was also a majestic power that made his heart tremble. Being mixed in with it made his heart tremble violently. Boom! 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 There were 3 loud thunders in the sky, shaking in all directions. The thin air flow and shock wave suddenly formed a ring in the air and spread towards the surroundings. The 3 strong demons who rushed over were punched by Xuanhuan. It was so loud that it stopped in its tracks and was pushed back 1,000 meters. The thousands of red arrows that cut through the space were like streams of light hitting the mountain. After making thousands of jingling noises, the originally powerful root had to become more tortuous, and there was also the one in the sky. Although the bronze skull had sprayed countless flames to refine the golden mountain that Xuanhuan blasted out, it was still hit by the golden mountain and retreated 10,000 meters, and the sprayed flames suddenly broke off. All this happened in the blink of an eye. When Xuanhuan rushed forward to meet the enemy, MaleProtagonist pulled Ziking and retreated to a safe distance away from the first blow of the clone of the Black Feather God. Sister Ziking, this is the grudge between Mr. Chan and I and the demons. It has nothing to do with you. You should leave quickly. MaleProtagonist said to Ziking and immediately rushed towards Xuanhuan. His natal artifact was instantly in his hand. When thousands of rays of red light were about to fly in front of Xuanhuan, Malugo's eyes flashed with evil intent, and when he played a string, a water pattern appeared in the void next to Xiaopingan. The ripples rippled like an invisible space shield, and all of a sudden the flying red light bounced away. Malugo flicked it again, and a black line fell on the head of the winged demon god who had the metal wing's divine weapon. The space was suddenly torn apart, and the incision that tore through the space extended directly to the head of the winged demon lord. The expression of the winged demon god also changed suddenly, and the metal wings on his back suddenly curled up to protect his head and body. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the five-color brilliance exploded on the body and metal wings of the winged demon god. The winged demon god was directly bombarded to the ground by Malugo, smashing a football field-sized ball on the ground. Huge pit. Sister Malugo, if you let me go at this time, I will be angry. I am also very good at fighting. Ziking pouted and said something, then she flashed and rushed to the front. Ziking took out a blue lotus that was still attached to the stem and waved it in the air. On top of the bronze skeleton that was spraying flames, there was a rippling blue water wave. The green water wave enveloped the ferocious figure. The bronze skull, the flames spurted out by the bronze skull, were immediately isolated in a fixed space by the water waves. The flames were extinguished as soon as they touched the blue water waves. When the winged demon god who threw the bronze skull saw this scene, his two blood-red eyes were immediately locked on the green lotus in Ziking's hand, and a greedy light bloomed in his eyes. Wan's Hung Ching Ji Bailian, hand it over and I will spare your life. As he spoke, the winged demon lord flashed and actually chased Ziking. Hee, you stinky duck egg with wings, if you want my girl's divine weapon, it depends on whether you have the ability. Ziking laughed playfully, and started fighting with the winged demon god. For a moment, in this void, the 6 people were divided into 3 pairs, each locked on an opponent, and started fighting fiercely. Even if you ignite the 8th ray of divine flame, you will die today. It depends on where you hide, the clone of the black feather god roared, and in a flash, it had already passed through a distance of tens of thousands of meters, and it instantly closed the distance between the two. The distance between Xiaopingan, the mountain-like sharp claws with endless flames and black mist, suddenly blasted through the void and grabbed Xiaopingan. This is the claw that scratched Xiaopingan before entering the Jiao God's cave. However, the power of this claw at this moment is 5 times greater than that of that day. The flames and black mist on the claws cover the sky and the sun all of a sudden. Every direction in which Xiaopingan's figure could change and escape was blocked, making people tremble at the sight of it, giving rise to a feeling of despair that was difficult to resist. I will kill the god's clone here today. Facing this terrifying attack, Xiaopingan also roared, raised his fist, and then punched towards the claw. In this punch, Xiaopingan in the first attempt, he mobilized 1% of the power of Ming Wanwujian's divine body to pour into his body, and then also integrated 10% of the mighty power of the giant divine prison tower into his fist. He wanted to see that how powerful is Ming Wanwujian's one-shot divine body and 1% of the giant tower's natal artifact. Opponents like the clone of the Black Feather God are the best candidates for him to train and test the power of his divine body and natal artifact. But the next second, Xiaopingan was stunned. Because of this punch, Xiaopingan felt that the time and space around him seemed to have slowed down a lot. Everything around him became slow motion, especially Heiyu. The attack of the god's clone seemed very powerful just now, but now it feels like nothing more than that. In the seemingly slow time and space illusion, Xiaopingan smashed the claw that he grabbed with one punch. The power of the claw reverberated to Xiaopingan. Xiaopingan felt that his body, muscles, bones and blood were only slightly shaking. There was no hurt or unbearable feeling at all, but the power of 10% of the divine prison tower blasted by his fist was as powerful as a sword cutting through tofu, and it instantly followed the claws and penetrated the body of the Black Feather God's clone. Like popping a weak bubble with an iron rod. Then, Xiaopingan saw an arm of the Black Feather God's clone, starting from the fingers, all the way to the palm, forearm, arm, shoulder, and the entire body, turning into ashes bit by bit, completely shattered into slag, and turned into a ball of blood mist. The blood mist seemed to have changed a little, and it wanted to struggle as a human being, but the aftermath of the power of the divine prison tower turned the blood mist into ashes in the blink of an eye, leaving nothing behind, and it spread in the air. Until the end, the look of astonishment, shock, and fear seemed to be frozen on the face of the Black Feather God's clone, and finally in Xiaopingan's eyes, and then became a symbol of the interlacing changes in time and space. Phantom. Boom. The terrifying shockwave shook the void, and the 9th level avatar of the Black Feather God was directly punched by Xiaopingan and turned into dregs, dissipating in the sky. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1152. Is this, the real horror of King Ming's divine body and the giant tower of the divine prison? At this moment, for Xiaopingan, time seemed to have stagnated. The dust transformed by the 9th level avatar of the Black Feather God was still suspended in front of his eyes one by one, without drifting away. Pingan was shocked in his heart. Everything in front of him was like a dream, with an unreal and elusive feeling. The person who was crushed by his head-on punch was not an ordinary monk, but a 9th level avatar of the god. Even if this 9th level god's clone is not the top super level combat power among the 9th level gods, even if it is not blessed by the natal artifact, it is still a 9th level god. The combat power of this 9th level god's clone is even among the gods of the same level, it should be at least at the middle level. This is an unattainable dream for many people, and it is the pinnacle existence that many strong people look up to. But at this moment, this dream, this pinnacle that people looked up to, this avatar in the cloak of a god, was shattered by his own punch, and he couldn't even hold on for a single punch. At this moment, countless scenes flashed through Xiaopingan's mind: the first time he fused with the foundation building boundary pearl, the first time he killed someone in a mission, the difficult moments in the boundary pearl, the first time he bathed in the divine spring, being chased by the dominant demon god, fusing the body of a god, advancing into a demigod, fighting in the arena of the god of war, being ambushed by the god, and so on. Those familiar faces also appeared in front of his eyes one by one. When all these pictures and thoughts finally appeared in Xiaopingan's consciousness, stilled, reconciled, and accepted, they were completely shattered and dissipated by a thunderbolt in his sea of consciousness, and then, an indescribable brand new feeling of self-confidence and a sense of transcendent control and dominance appeared in the deepest part of Xiaopingan's consciousness and beliefs. Invincible. Is this what it feels like to be invincible? Xiaopingan looked at his fists, as if in Zen. At this moment, I have entered an invincible state. This idea, this belief, is so firm in Xiaopingan's heart at this moment that it is difficult to shake. A caterpillar will emerge from its cocoon and become a butterfly. Ming Wanwujian's divine body allowed him to complete the final break out of the cocoon, and also opened the final road to the realm of the gods in front of him. This is the ultimate achievement: all the blood, sweat, all efforts, all difficulties, all the efforts in the past, all the sacrifices were rewarded at this moment. This secret method combined the divine body and the natal artifact into one. Once he achieved something, he would break out of his cocoon and transform into a dragon, becoming invincible. Even if it is only the first level of power of Ming Wanwujian's divine body, even if he can only use 10% of the power of the divine prison tower, it is enough for him to completely crush the 9th level god. And now he can use the triple power of Ming Wanwujian divine body and divine prison tower. Xiaopingan had never known what the divine prison giant tower was before, but at this moment, he had clearly felt that the divine prison giant tower was definitely a top-level Dao artifact, because only this top-level Dao artifact could possess such a the power is unimaginable, and the Ming Wanwujian divine body that matches the giant tower is definitely the top secret method in the universe and can create the most powerful divine body. Boom. The loud noise that suddenly reached his ears suddenly broke the wonderful artistic conception and experience Xiaopingyan was immersed in. Everything in front of him seemed to have returned to the normal flow of time again. Countless ashes of the black feather god's clones did not stay in the sky for even a thousandth of a second before they were completely dissipated in the sky by the shockwave in the aftermath of that punch. The violent roar that just reached my ears came from the huge roar in the distance when Milugo was fighting against the 8th level winged demon lord with a pair of huge metal wings. After Bilugo, who is on the list of gods, advanced to the 8th level god, he can already fight against the 9th level god. However, the strength of the 8th level god of the winged demon is not inferior to that of Milugo at the same level. The two of them just used their lives. Under the bombardment of the artifacts, the thousands of red lights emitted by the metal wings of the winged demon's 8th level god cut directly down from the sky. After colliding with the invisible space ripples emitted by Milugo's strings, the two cut in together. Under the mountains and the ground, the mountains on the ground covering hundreds of square kilometers were shattered in an instant, and the underground was turbulent. Magma spewed out, completely changing the surface of the underground. After this blow, Milugo and the 8th level god of the winged demon briefly stayed in the air for a moment, and then flew away. Be careful! Milugo reminded Xiaopingyan eagerly. Do you want to use this low-level illusion to deceive me? The 8th level deity of the winged demon turned his head and glanced in the direction of Xiaopingyan, then yelled with a disdainful sneer on his face. As a powerful god at this level, even in the battle with his opponent, their spiritual thoughts and perceptions are all over the void. He can see in all directions and listen in all directions. Xiaopingyan has just smashed the 9th level god of black feathers with one punch. The scene of respecting the clone was naturally seen by the two of them. Milugo's first reaction was that it was some kind of weird secret method used by the 9th level avatar of the black feather god to cover up people's eyes and minds. It was impossible for Xiaopingyan to kill the 9th level avatar of the black feather god with one punch. Maybe next time in seconds, the 9th level avatar of the black feather god would pop out from somewhere and give Xiaopingyan a fatal blow, so Milugo quickly reminded Xiaopingyan. When the 8th level deity of the winged demon saw this scene, he felt that this was some kind of blind trick or illusion cast by Xiaopingyan, with the purpose of shaking his will to fight, so he couldn't help but roared. Further away, Ziking and another 8th level god of the winged demon naturally saw this scene. The two were also fighting, turning the ground into a sea of boiling and rolling magma. What they were thinking in their minds was actually, it's similar to Milugo and the 8th level god of the winged demon. No one thought that the 9th level clone of the god of black feathers would be killed like this. There would definitely be changes. The two continued to fight, and the huge bronze skull with flames slammed into the ground. Escape from Ziking's siege. Xiaopingyan didn't say anything, but there was a flash of golden light under his feet, and a golden lotus bloomed. Then the next second, he appeared in front of the winged demon god who was fighting Milugo. Kill. The winged demon lord was also experienced in the battlefield. Facing the enemy who suddenly entered his battle circle, he did not hesitate or be polite at all. The pair of metal wings on his back shook, and a sinister smile flashed on his face. Thousands of red lights directly surrounded Xiaopingyan and blasted towards Xiaopingyan from all directions, just like thousands of sharp blades inserted into the center of Xiaopingyan's space. As soon as Xiaopingyan reached out and grabbed it, the countless red lights that hit him stopped 3 feet away in front of him. Xiaopingyan's hand caught several red lights. Those red lights were at this moment. The prototypes were completely revealed on Xiaopingyan's hands and around him. They were metal feathers, sharp, with a strong aura of artifacts. The metal feathers on Xiaopingyan's palms were like wild pythons. It struggled fiercely and trembled, causing the entire space to tremble and make a loud rumbling sound. While other metal feathers wanted to break through and cut towards Xiaopingyan, they were blocked by an invisible barrier around Xiaopingyan. Is this a divine artifact refined with the blood divine bones, abyss magic gold, and starry sky vine juice? It's true, but the refining method is a bit rough, and this divine artifact is not perfect. But for you winged demons, this artifact is not perfect. It can get the maximum speed bonus, and it also has space attributes. The concept is okay. Xiaoping'an looked at the struggling feathers in his hands with a calm expression, and said softly, and then he squeezed his hands hard. The few metal feathers that were living there were crushed by him in an instant, turning into fine black sand and falling from the gaps in his hands. I'm sorry, I crushed your divine weapon. Xiaoping'an smiled at the 8th level god of the winged demon. Impossible, your divine body can't be so strong. The 8th level god of the winged demon's eyes were straightened. He could hardly believe what he saw. A human god of the same level could actually take it with his bare hands. His natal artifact attacked, and he was able to crush his natal artifact with his bare hands. Even if his natal artifact was not fully developed, it could not be easily destroyed with bare hands. Such a scene also made his brain go crazy in an instant. It's almost like a crash. Miluo, who was about to rush over, was shocked when she saw this scene. She had just been fighting with the 8th level god of the winged demon. Miluo knew best how powerful this person's divine weapon was. She knew it best. He didn't expect Xiaoping'an to be able to withstand the attack of that person's divine weapon with his bare hands and even damage part of it. Nothing is impossible. This punch is yours. Xiaoping'an said, taking a step forward and continuing to punch. The 8th level god of the winged demon instinctively felt a huge danger at this moment. He originally wanted to take it hard, but as soon as his mind changed, he gave up the idea and instead made a defensive posture. The metal on his back, the wings suddenly curled up and turned into thick shields, like a round ball, and like two arms, completely surrounding the 8th level god of the winged demon inside the metal wings. Boom! Xiaoping'an's punch hit the shield made of a pair of metal wings, and then in everyone's eyes, the pair of metal wings and the 8th level winged demon lord protected under the wings were in the air. It was exploded by a punch, and the shattered divine weapon let out a crisp cry, like the cry of a bird, and turned into a blood-red light pillar rising into the sky. Blood-colored light feathers fell from the sky, leaving its last trace in this world. The traces of the 8th level winged demon lord only had time to let out a scream before turning into dust. The dust dissipated instantly in the shockwave spread by the fist, and in the end no scum was left behind. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1153. With this blow, in full view of everyone, Xiaoping'an killed the 8th level god of winged demon with one punch. After the 8th level god turned into ashes, the shattered natal artifact turned into ashes in the sky within hundreds of miles. The blood-red light feathers fell down one after another like heavy snow from the sky, like the artifact's final mourning for itself and its master's fate. This time, the only remaining winged demon god who was still fighting with Ziking in the distance was frightened. When Xiaoping'an killed the clone of the black feather god, he thought it was some illusion or the black feather god. The secret method of God's clone, but in a moment, two strong men were directly blasted to pieces under his eyes, and the life breath was completely annihilated in a sudden and he couldn't feel it. This was wrong. Especially the bloody light feathers that fell when the artifact was shattered were even more unlikely to be illusions or forgeries. Seeing Xiaoping'an's eyes looking over, the only remaining 8th level winged demon lord didn't even bother to take back his divine weapon, and didn't dare to waste time with Ziking anymore. He yelled with a distorted face and made a feint. After forcing 11 Qing back, he opened his mouth and a mouthful of blood spurted out, like a rainbow, directly integrated into the Bronze Skull's destiny artifact. The Bronze Skull's destiny artifact suddenly burst into flames, and the flames spilled out instantly. It was twice as large, and at the same time it was carrying blazing flames, like the setting sun, falling violently from the sky to the ground. And with the fall of this destiny artifact, Ziking, who had been entangled with the bronze skull and was using his artifact to trap the bronze skull, was forced to follow the bronze skull and fall into the ground, unable to escape. Come out. After kicking away Ziking's stumbling block, the body of the 8th level winged demon lord exploded into 36 parts and turned into 36 streaks of black smoke. Each streak of black flame was like lightning. Scattered in the sky, dizzying, trying desperately to escape. This time, Ziking, who was falling towards the ground, was stunned for a moment. Ah, you don't want your divine weapon anymore. Milugo also moved. She played the black phoenix Gukin in her hand. She just fiddled with one string, and a bolt of lightning like black smoke that had flown far away suddenly exploded and dissipated. Zheng, 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 zheng. Milugo's fingers plucked rapidly on her strings, and the murderous sound of the piano sounded like thunder in the sky, and like thunder shaking drums. In the sky, the strings sounded 11 times, and the 11 streaks of black smoke that fled in the sky exploded and dissipated. After doing this, of the 36 black smoke, only 25 remained in the blink of an eye. Seeing Milugo gritting his teeth and seeming to come up with some big move, Xiaopinggan directly sent a message to Milugo, "Don't worry, leave it to me." After saying that, Xiaopinggan glanced at the 25 streaks of black smoke that were running wildly in the sky. His eyes condensed slightly, and a golden lotus bloomed under his feet. His figure jumped and flashed in the void, and several numbers flew out in the blink of an eye. Bailey, what is surprising is that Xiaopinggan did not chase the black smoke flying like lightning, but came to an airspace without black smoke and punched into the sky. The golden mountain appeared in the sky, really like Mount Tai pressing down on top, crashing down into the sky where no one could be seen. With a loud boom, the golden mountain seemed to have hit an invisible thing, making a violent roar. As the golden mountain dissipated in the sky, a somewhat embarrassed figure vomited blood, staggeringly appearing in the sky, looking at Xiaopinggan with stern eyes. He roared angrily, "How could you break my secret method of demon clones?" Xiaopinggan smiled slightly, "Is it difficult to break your secret method? Although I don't know what secret method you use, I can tell fortunes. If the enemy is in the Sunda hexagram, it means that your true body is in the southeast. Once you get here, you will with a divination, you will be able to lock in wherever you are." The 8th level winged demon god stared at Xiaopinggan fiercely, and suddenly took out a golden talisman in his hand, crushed it into pieces, and his whole figure flashed, and then disappeared instantly. There is actually a teleportation array talisman. I didn't expect this guy to have such a thing in his hand, a talisman that can randomly teleport oneself to other places at critical moments. The function of this talisman is actually a bit like an enhanced version of the Void Golden Lotus Divine Skill, except that the teleportation range will be further. This 8th level winged demon god lord, there was indeed some cunning and tricks, but Xiaopinggan shook his head slightly. This is in the secret realm of Jiaoshen Cave Netherworld City. The space here is not connected to the outside world. No matter what your teleportation talisman does, it will not teleport you out of this secret realm. After speaking, Xiaopinggan glanced around. Golden lotuses bloomed under his feet, and his figure disappeared instantly. Just 3 minutes later, in the sky over a wilderness more than 2,000 kilometers away from here, Xiaopinggan once again locked onto the figure of the fleeing 8th level winged demon lord. Their figures were like two streams of light in the sky. Flying by, the 8th level winged demon lord used all his strength to fly in front, while Xiaopinggan was chasing behind, getting closer and closer. As Xiaopinggan stretched out his hand, a big golden hand shot out from the clouds in the sky, and violently slapped the figure fleeing in front, instantly destroying the secret protection technique released by that figure. There was a loud bang, and the figure flying in front was directly shot from the air to the ground by Xiaopinggan's palm. All of a sudden, his bones and tendons were broken. He continued to vomit blood, and the ground with a radius of dozens of kilometers instantly eroded and turned into flat ground. The entire earth was shaking like an earthquake. The 8th level winged demon lord just flew up from the ground with his face covered with blood, and his body was broken. He saw Xiaopinggan rushing in front of him. In panic, he couldn't help but yelled, "Let me go, everything on me, it's all yours. If you die, your things belong to me too." In addition to these words, the answer to him was Xiaopinggan's resolute punch. The terrifying aura on the fist came instantly. The 8th level winged demon lord was suddenly locked to death by the aura of the punch, unable to escape. But he could avoid it. In desperation, he roared and used all his strength to fight hard. Boom! There was no accident in the body of the 8th level winged demon lord. He was blasted by Xiaopinggan's punch again and turned into dust and dissipated. It's just that there are indeed many things on this winged demon god. As soon as his body exploded, dozens of crystal clear world beads appeared in the sky. In addition to these world beads, there are actually many that have been refined. The bronze metal copper ingots that came out were scattered in the void. Those copper ingots were not ordinary metals. When they were scattered in the void, they did not fall from the sky at all, but floated in the void. The 5 elements in the surrounding void, the spiritual energy and energy, turned into 5 colored thin lines at a speed that was almost visible to the naked eye, and quickly gathered towards the copper ingots. Ancient orichalcum. A shocked voice appeared in the distance. Xiaopinggan turned his head and glanced at the place where the sound came from, and saw 3 people with unfamiliar faces standing in the air thousands of meters away, looking at this side in shock. Those 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, were very impressive. They were nearby just now, but the 8th level winged demon lord rushed here in a panic when he was escaping. Then the 3 people were attracted by the aura of the fight here and flew over to have a look. Ancient orichalcum is a treasure that can be used to refine natal artifacts. I don't know where the 8th level winged demon lord who was killed got it from, but it doesn't matter anymore. These things in front of me are all mine. Xiaopinggan glanced at the 3 people, and their faces suddenly turned pale, as if they had fallen into an ice cave, and their bodies were stiff. All the copper was put away, and the golden lotus bloomed under his feet and disappeared. It wasn't until Xiaopinggan left that the 3 of them calmed down. In fact, those 3 people are not weak. They are all powerful 7th level gods. However, after they saw an 8th level god from the demon tribe was smashed by Xiaopinggan with a punch, even though he failed to beg for mercy, Xiaopinggan, the terrifying aura and powerful invincible aura on Ping An's body had completely shocked the 3 of them. They didn't dare to let out their breath. The 3 of them could hardly believe what they saw in front of them. Is that the 8th level winged demon god? He was actually killed with 1 punch, a man with a white beard asked. There was still a look of shock in the man's eyes until this moment. The man who had just been killed, he could clearly see the 8 circles of light behind the head of the winged demon lord. That person, could it be a god who came to this secret realm? The look he just gave me was so scary. I was even afraid that he would suddenly rush over. A man next to him was also frightened. Even if he is not a coming god, he is at least a top-level god who can ignite 10 rays of divine flame and can become a god at any time. The 2 men who spoke were a little shocked, both feeling that they had witnessed something extraordinary in the secret realm of Netherworld City. That man seems to be Huan Longchan. I saw him outside Su capital before. The woman among the 3 hesitated for a moment before speaking. Huan Longchan just defeated Du Yunji outside Su capital city, and now he can kill an 8th level god with 1 punch. How is it possible? Hearing this, the woman who had just spoken also became suspicious. After all, for strong men of their level, it is easy to disguise their faces, but their strength cannot be disguised. In that direction just now, there were strange phenomena and strong fluctuations of divine power in the sky more than 2,000 miles away. Do you want to go and have a look? One person pointed at the clone of the god Xiaopinggan who just killed the black feather god and the first one. In the place where the winged demon lord was, the battle and aura phenomenon just like that could be felt by people within thousands of kilometers. Okay, let's go take a look. You can't find anything here. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1154. When Xiaopinggan quickly returned to the wilderness mountain where he had just killed the clone of the Black Feather God, the ground on the wilderness mountain had completely changed, it had been beaten to pieces in the battle. The ground and mountains in Kong have now turned into a huge magma lake with an area of almost tens of thousands of square kilometers. In the magma lake, heat waves are rolling. At this moment, the hard rock layers and hills on the ground have turned into dark red-hot magma in the magma lake. The magma is like a tsunami, setting off huge waves of tens of meters, heading towards the lake. It was gushing and sweeping around. The culprit that caused all this was the huge bronze skull of the winged demon lord who had just been killed by Xiaopinggan. At this moment, the bronze skull is deep in the magma lake, hundreds of meters underground. In the gaps between the eyes, mouth, nostrils, and ears of the bronze skull, purple-red high-temperature flames are like the Yangtze River, it rolled out. It was these flames that melted the earth and mountain peaks, turning them into rolling magma, and pushed the magma towards the surroundings wave after wave. The bronze skull seemed to be completely out of control at the moment. The high-temperature flames it continuously spit out not only changed the terrain here, but also burned itself as red as the iron tongs in the boiler. The skull emitted a dazzling white light, as if it will melt at any time, and some small cracks have appeared on the head of the bronze skull. The entire bronze skull is frantically devouring and absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth, while exuding extremely unstable fluctuations of divine power. The fluctuations of divine power disturb the surroundings. The space, under this terrifying high temperature, caused the sky above the magma lake to become somewhat distorted. This scene reminded Xiaopinggan inexplicably of the terrifying aura before the void divine thunder exploded. Ziking held her green-stemmed lotus, and Malugo held her phoenix gukin. The two of them were like goddesses descending to earth, with their long skirts fluttering and their hair flying. They stood above the rolling lava lake, joining hands to bless a stream of ice. A blue energy light curtain enveloped the sea of magma, and also contained the flames spouted by the bronze skeleton within this ice blue light curtain. The winged demon lord's natal artifact is no longer controllable and may self-destruct at any time. The self-destruction power of the natal artifact is more terrifying than the void divine thunder. There is a treasure hiding spot found by the treasure-gathering golden toad nearby. Ziking and I can still suppress it now. Live with that skull and see if you can send that skull somewhere else or prevent it from self-destructing. If not, we can only evacuate quickly. As soon as Xiaopinggan flew over, Miluo's slightly anxious voice sounded in his ears. Although Xiaopinggan had only been away for a few minutes, the situation in front of him could not be worse. The self-destruction power of this 8th level god's divine weapon is extremely terrifying. In order to survive, the escaped winged demon lord did not hesitate to cut off his tail to survive, and resorted to all kinds of desperate measures. "Don't worry, leave it to me," Xiaopinggan said. In a flash, he rushed into the icy blue energy light curtain. With just a flash of his body, he dived into the boiling in the lake of magma, and then went upstream, facing the fierce erupting flames, directly came to the huge bronze skeleton that was spitting fire like a violent crater. The flames spewed out by the skull are not ordinary flames, but fire attacks comparable to the divine skills of the 8th level gods. In the face of such flames, ordinary powerful gods, even if they do not die, will probably suffer in a moment. Seriously injured. The clothes on Xiaopinggan's body in the high-temperature flames instantly turned into flying ash. The high-temperature flames burned directly on Xiaopinggan's body. The power of Ming Wangwujian's divine body was once again revealed, and a layer of water floated on the outside of his body. The dull golden light and the terrifying high-temperature flames swept over Xiaopinggan's body, like a rushing river rushing into the endless abyss, and was swallowed up all at once, while Xiaopinggan's body was unscathed. Maluo and Ziking in the sky were a little frightened when they saw Xiaoping'an actually rushing towards the bronze skull with the increasingly intense white light despite the high temperature flames. This kind of thing is just like ordinary people clearing mines. Too dangerous. As for the fact that Xiaoping'an's clothes turned into ashes and that he was completely naked at this moment, it is harmless and has no impact on a summoner of this level. For those who have cultivated to the realm of gods, who is not the blood of a mountain of corpses. Walking through the sea, taking out your heart and replacing your lungs is nothing more than a trivial matter. Why would you care about this? They see a person's body more than a doctor sees a patient lying on the operating table. Biluo's expression was natural. Only Ziking looked down at her, her cheeks turned slightly red, and she quickly closed her eyes. Be careful, the two women's voices appeared in Xiaoping'an's ears almost at the same time. Don't worry, Xiaoping'an said as he began to pinch out the secret spells in his hands and hit the fingers one after another on the bronze skull. The last instruction and will that this bronze skull received as a natal artifact should be to self-destruct and detonate, but the winged demon lord has been killed by himself. The only way to stop this natal artifact that is about to self-destruct is, it is to extract a trace of the natal soul of the killed winged demon lord from this natal artifact, make this natal artifact an ownerless thing, and then find a way to control it. This job sounds simple to say, but it is extremely difficult to do it, because there are too many secret methods involved, and these secret methods are all top-notch secret methods, and they also need various secret methods to cooperate with each other. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible. Only Xiaoping'an, who has 100 years of cultivation experience in the Buddhist scripture hall and masters the powerful spiritual world secrets, combined with the two, can turn the tide at this juncture and let the divine weapon that is about to self-destruct be able to do so. Stop. As Xiaoping'an's hand seal spells hit the fire-breathing skull one by one, the flames of the skull gradually decreased. Just a few minutes later, with the trace of the life essence of the winged demon god on the skull, the god was pulled out and disappeared in the blink of an eye in the flames. On the head of the fire-breathing skull, a huge pillar of fiery flames over 100 meters thick rose into the sky. Amidst the roaring noise, the huge 4 to 5,000 square kilometers the magma in the magma lake set off huge waves more than 1,000 meters high and surged from the center to the surroundings. Biluo and Ziking's hearts tightened, thinking that the divine weapon was going to explode. The next second, the huge pillar of scorching flames dissipated, and all the high-temperature flames and energy in the magma lake also disappeared instantly. In just a second or two, the high-temperature magma that swept towards the surroundings froze instantly under the ice-blue light shield, and the magma in the magma lake within tens of thousands of square kilometers changed again. For the rock, everything was like a miracle between the scene changes. Xiaoping'an, who had instantly put on a black battle robe, dragged the bronze skull that had been split into two halves, soared from the ground to the sky, and flew in front of the two women in the blink of an eye. Are you okay? Maluo asked with concern. Ziking's face was not as red as before and had returned to normal. Xiaoping'an didn't feel any strange at all. He looked at the two women and smiled slightly. It's okay. Fortunately, I did not disgrace my life. This artifact of the winged demon lord has now become an ownerless thing. It just happened to be cracked from the middle. God's will. The two of you are exactly half of each other, and the casting material of this natal artifact is precious ancient orichalcum, which can make your respective natal artifacts go further. Brother Cicada, you and Maluo can each take half. You contribute the most, so I won't let you go. Ziking shook her head quickly and said, I have killed the winged demon lord, and I have collected some ancient orichalcum on him. The ones here are divided between the two of you. We all have a share, Xiaoping'an said. Sister Ziking, let each of us take half. If you don't accept it, none of us will be embarrassed to accept it. Besides, you also participated in the battle just now. Your contribution is not small, so don't refuse. Maluo smiled beside him. He said, and then he took action and took out half of the skull. Before Ziking could speak, a voice suddenly sounded in the distance, "It's that woman who stole my dragon scales." Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1155. Although Xiaoping'an and the others' battle here was not long, the total time from start to finish was less than 20 minutes, the battle was extremely fierce and affected a large area. Frequent phenomena occurred between heaven and earth, and they were far away for several days. The abnormality here can be seen and felt from thousands of miles away. As a result, those powerful men from all walks of life who were searching for treasures in the secret realm of Nether City, not far from here, rushed here quickly. One wanted to see the situation and understand what happened, and the other thought that this place, if he discovers some valuable treasure that triggers a battle, he doesn't want to miss it. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen strong men came from the surroundings in 3 batches from the sky. The person who just spoke was a man who looked to be in his 20s. He was wearing a white shirt. He looked somewhat handsome at first glance, but his 4 white eyes and domineering and sinister temperament made him look more handsome. Making people frown, this man was flying with 4 others from the southeast. As soon as the man saw Ziking, he screamed and stared at Ziking with vicious eyes. Ancient Orichalcum. An old man who came with the man who shouted, wearing a golden crown and purple robes and looking like an immortal, his eyes widened when he saw the half-skull in Xiaoping'an's hand. As soon as it lit up, it also screamed. With this sound, many eyes around him immediately focused on the half of the bronze skull in Xiaoping'an's hand. The bronze skull was originally the size of a house, like a hill. Although it was only half the size, it was still the same size. It's not too small. It contains at least thousands of tons of ancient orichalcum. Seeing the eyes of the people flying around focused on the bronze skull, Xiaoping'an frowned slightly and gave Ziking a look. He put his head away and said through the message, "Thank you, Brother Chan. It's you, you didn't expect that we would meet again here." The man who accused Ziking had a cruel smile on his face. "In this secret realm of Netherworld City, it depends on where you run. I want you to take me with you, let me settle the account." After threatening him, the man turned and looked at the old man next to him wearing a golden crown and purple robe. "Uncle, this is the woman who plotted against me on the road and used tricks to deceive me. Take away my dragon scales. I didn't want to run away. Don't get me wrong. I just dislike you and don't want to get together with someone like you." Ziking blinked at the man, put her hands on her hips, and looked innocent and disgusted. With confidence, Xiaoping'an discovered for the first time that the expression on a woman's face could be so lively and interesting. "I let you go last time, but I didn't expect that you would dare to come here. Is it because I didn't beat you hard enough? Or do you think I'm around you this time? With help, you can have the courage to come to trouble me, a weak woman. You." The man's face was livid, and he was about to say something. The old man next to him raised his hand gently and glanced at him, and the man suddenly shut up. "Miss Maluo, I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect that we would meet again in the secret realm of Netherworld City this time." Among the few people flying over from the other side, there was a man with a black face who was carrying a giant sword and wearing silver armor. I knew him. Bai Luo took the initiative to say hello to Bai Luo. "It turns out to be Master Xiong Pavilion. Last time we parted in Tianyang Realm, I didn't expect Master Xiong Pavilion to have ignited the 8th ray of divine flame." "Congratulations," Maluo smiled and said hello to the black-faced man who flew over. "Ha ha ha, Miss Biluo is not bad either. She has also advanced to the 8th level. I wonder who is next to Miss Biluo." The man's eyes suddenly fell on Xiaoping'an, showing a dignified aura. It is really Xiaoping'an's temperament at this moment that is so special. There are so many powerful people around him, but Xiaoping'an's expression is still indifferent, not nervous at all, as if he is an unimportant passerby. A, B, B, D, and he doesn't care about him at all. Not a threat. This is young Master Chan, Dragon Chan. Bai Luo introduced the two of them. Master Chan, this is Xuanhuan, the master of the Star Jiang Pavilion in the secret realm of Linghuang. It turns out to be Mr. Cicada who defeated Du Yunji outside Su capital city. I have admired him for a long time. Master Xiang Pavilion Star reaching pavilion guards an area. It's famous in Linghuang. I've heard of it a long time ago. I've admired it for a long time. Whether they know each other, whether they have met them or not, none of them are unknown. I was in the distance just now and noticed that there were strong men fighting here. The aura was amazing. I wonder who dared to cause trouble for Miss Maluo and Mr. Chan. Has that person run away? Xiangbai, the master of the Star Jiang Pavilion, looked at it. Looking at the large hole that had condensed on the ground, he looked around again and asked curiously. At this moment, the center of the huge magma lake covering tens of thousands of square kilometers on the ground has turned into a large pit with a depth of almost tens of thousands of meters, embedded in the ground like a black cauldron, and the solidified magma is like a pool in the sea. Like waves, a circle of wavy peaks was formed around the big pit, which looked a bit scary, and there were no enemies visible in the surrounding sky, so Xuanbai, the master of the Star Jiang Pavilion, asked this question one sentence. Because according to common sense, a battle between strong men at this level will not end so quickly, and just now Xiaopingan killed the Black Feather God clone and the Winged Demon God in the blink of an eye here too fast, almost one punch at a time. Those people in the distance only saw some strange phenomena and felt the fluctuations of the battle here, and had no idea what was going on here, so Xuanbai, the master of the Star Jiang Pavilion, couldn't help but ask. Mi Luo and Ziking both looked at Xiaopingan in unison. In fact, the two of them were still immersed in the shock of Xiaopingan's punch in the battle just now, killing the clone of the Black Feather God. Neither of them understood. Why did Xiaopingan's strength become so terrifying and powerful in the blink of an eye? If so many people hadn't come now, I'm afraid the two of them couldn't help asking Xiaopingan to ask questions. It was just that the situation in front of them was special, so the two of them kept asking questions. Hard. It's nothing. I just met some powerful demons here. We fought for a while, but those demons didn't take advantage and have already left, Xiaopingan replied with a smile. Those demons, the strong man of the tribe had indeed left and was sent away by himself. Xiaopingan did not lie. As for how the people listening understood it, that was their business. Xiaopingan's answer shocked Xiangbai, the master of the Star Jiang Pavilion, because he also saw the look that Bai Luo just looked at Xiaopingan. Although Bai Luo didn't say anything, just such a look had already let Xiangbai, the master of Zhaixing Pavilion, discover the subtleties of the relationship between the two. In their relationship, a woman like Mi Luo actually takes Xiaopingan as the dominant one. How virtuous and capable is this dragon cicada? He can actually allow a woman like Mi Luo to take him as her master. He wouldn't have given Mi Luo any medicine or poison, right? But with Mi Luo's cultivation level, any medicine or poison should be useless. Xiangbai, the master of the Star Jiang Pavilion, carefully looked back and forth at the faces of Xiaopingan and Mi Luo, but couldn't see anything unusual, so he said, haha, I didn't expect the strong men of the demon clan to come here. Dragon God's Cave. It seems that the treasures in this Dragon God's Cave are also very attractive to the demons. Who wouldn't want this treasure in the secret realm? Mi Luo said. The old man wearing a golden crown listened to several people chatting for a while, his eyes flashed, and finally spoke at this time. Ahem, Miss Maluo, Mr. Cicada, I have admired these two famous names for a long time, but this friend next to me is here. On the way to the Dragon God's Cave, he pretended to be walking with my nephew, but took advantage of my nephew's unpreparedness and injured my nephew, and also took away a god's dragon scale from him. Since we met here today, these two people around us, my friend, should you give me an explanation? I wonder what your name is. Xiaopingan asked Mi Luo and Ziking to be silent. The old man touched his beard and smiled calmly. In just a few words, 7 or 8 more people flew in from the sky around him. More and more people were gathering here. The old man looked around. Said loudly, I haven't walked around in the secret realm of the spiritual wasteland for many years. It's only recently that I have been very restless and thought about moving out. It's normal that Mr. Xuanhuan doesn't know me. Mr. Chan, the Chu family of the ancient god's blood descendant family, should know me. His name is Chu Lingui, and he is the supreme elder of the Chu family. Many years ago, I met the ancestor of your Chan Long family, Xuanlong Tianyue. My nephew Chu's Honggayu, like Mr. Chan, has just been on the list of gods. The Chu family is an ancient god bloodline family that is more powerful than the Xuanlong family. It is considered one of the top existences among the ancient god bloodline families and is famous in the secret realm of the spiritual wilderness. It turns out to be Elder Chu of the Chu family. Sorry, I was just looking for you, Xiaopingan replied with a smile. Ah, what does Mr. Chan have to do with our Chu family? Chu Lingui asked, narrowing his eyes slightly. Xiaopingan's smile did not change, but the smile gradually revealed a cold meaning. The girl that Elder Chu said is called Ziking, and she is my adopted sister. My adopted sister Ziking comes from a wealthy family, she is reasonable, and she is an immortal. Her beauty and quality are not ordinary, and a woman like her will definitely not do anything mean. I also heard from my adopted sister before that on the way to Jiaoshen Cave, she encountered a garbage man who kept pestering her. Actually wanted to do something despicable. Fortunately, my sister-in-law was not weak in cultivation, so she injured that garbage and left. In order to avoid that garbage's denial, my sister-in-law even snatched a godly dragon scale from that garbage as evidence. I didn't expect that trash to be a child of the Chu family. Just like what Elder Chu said just now, since we met here today, please ask Elder Chu to give an explanation to my sworn sister. As soon as Xiaopingan said these words, the atmosphere at the scene solidified instantly. At the same time, there was also the smile on Chu Lingui's face. Everyone could see it. According to the positions of both parties, they are incompatible. This matter is probably I Can't Be Better. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Zy. Chapter 1156. The smile on Chu Lingui's face changed from solidified to a sneer to a wild laugh. It only took less than a second. Ha ha ha, interesting, interesting. Chu Lingui said. 9 sacred circles of light suddenly appeared behind the person's head, and the aura of the 9th level god suddenly rose from his body, overwhelming him. Chu Lingui stared at Xiaopingan with eyes full of evil spirits. Xuanlong Chan, you are planning to be unreasonable with me and want to forcefully stand up for that woman. I am just reasoning with Elder Qu. If I am not being reasonable, why should I say so much? Xiaopingan still had a smile. Everyone present has sharp eyes. As long as everyone present can see, look at the trash next to you, and then look at my adopted sister, isn't it clear at a glance who is right and who is wrong? Chu's Honggayu's pair of 4 white eyes had been staring at Xiaopingan like a hungry wolf for a long time. He looked like he was gnashing his teeth and full of evil spirit. Want you to look good? Oh, really, why don't you want me to look good now? Do you know that you can't beat me, so you only look for women to bully you? I'm not wronging you at all. You. Chu's Honggayu was almost furious. I didn't expect that after so many years of not seeing each other, a junior from the Xuanlong family would actually dare to challenge our Chu family. You, Xuanlong Chan, dare to look down on the children of my Chu family. You are really overestimating your abilities. It seems that I am going out this time. It is still necessary to take a walk. Chu Lingui shook his head, raised his hand to stop Chu's Honggayu, and said with emotion, when I was your age, I also defeated the same level of strong men on the conferred god list. There's nothing to say about this, it's just a passing cloud. Considering that I got to know you, the ancestor of the Xuanhuan family, I won't put too much pressure on you today, so I will give you a chance. If you know that you are wrong, Xuanlongchen, kneel down. I apologize for what I just said about kowtowing 3 times to our Chu family. If you slap me 10 times, I won't argue with you. As for your adopted sister, let her declare herself a cultivator and follow me and accept our Chu family. That's the solution. When Chu's Honggayu heard this, he had a disgusting smile on his face, and a pair of white eyes kept turning around Ziking, showing a lewd and malicious look. After hearing this, Xiaopingan glanced at Ziking and sighed, "Sister, did you hear that? Elder Chu is a 9th level god. He wants you to declare yourself a cultivator and accept their treatment." Ziking suddenly became an actor and had a tacit understanding with Xiaopingan. She wiped the corners of her eyes resentfully and sighed sadly, "Of course I heard it. I didn't expect to provoke a powerful 9th level god. I'm so scared. What should I do? Please ask my brother to take this ancient orichalcum. If you continue to keep it with me, I'm afraid I won't be able to keep such a treasure," Ziking said, and took the half of the bronze skull. He came out and wanted to hand it over to Xiaopingan. "Wait a minute." Chu Lingui stared at the half of the bronze skull with scorching eyes, waved his hand, and showed domineering momentum, saying domineeringly, "Since this ancient orichalcum belongs to that woman, it should be handled by our Chu family and no one else should interfere." Ha ha ha. Xiaopingan laughed with pride. It turns out that Elder Chu has been talking for a long time just because he is interested in these ancient orichalcums in my sworn sister's hands, so he wants to find an excuse to rob them, right? Chu Elder, how come you are still so greedy and stupid at this age? The fox's tail is exposed at the first try. Since you know me, the ancestor of the Xuanlong family, I won't embarrass you today. You can do it yourself. Kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times to apologize, then slap yourself 10 times, and let that trash self-proclaimed cultivation level be at my stepsister's disposal, and I won't argue with you anymore." What Chu Lingui had just said was returned to him intact by Xiaopingan at this moment. Hearing these words, those around him were all in disbelief, thinking that Xiaopingan was crazy. Soon the newcomer on the conferred god list who had just defeated Du Yunji, a 7th level god on the conferred god list, actually dared to challenge a 9th level god on the conferred god list head-on at this time. Chu Lingui was so angry that the flesh on his face was trembling. Looking at Xiaopingan's eyes, there was already a trace of murderous intent without concealing it. Unbridled. Following Chu Lingui's roar, he raised his hand and pointed. He pointed towards Xiaopingan fiercely. In just an instant, a black crack ripped from Chu Lingui's finger towards Xiaopingan like lightning. It was sharp and fast. At the same time, the black crack also appeared. A strong suction seemed to keep Xiaoping in place, unable to move. The 9th level god's move was indeed extraordinary. This song of spiritual rules was just one move, and Xiaopingan felt that this old guy was definitely stronger than the clone of the black feather god who had just been killed by him. But, that's it. In a flash, just when Xiaopingan once again entered the realm where time slowed down and wanted to punch, Xiaopingan suddenly felt something and stopped suddenly. Without any warning, a figure suddenly appeared between Xiaopingan and Chu Lingui. As soon as he stretched out his hand, Chu Lingui pointed out the black crack extending from the air, and was grabbed by the figure with one hand. Just like a skilled snake catcher catching 7 inches of a snake, the black crack suddenly turned into a black ball that flashed with lightning and struggled and fissured in the man's hand. Chu Lingui, you shameless old guy. Back then you were shameless and liked to play dirty tricks. I didn't expect that after so many years, you still have this kind of virtue. There are really not many good Chu family members out there. You are so cruel to a younger generation, you want to use your sky-splitting finger to destroy him, he, you have forgotten how I taught you a lesson back then. He took action to block Chu Linggui's attack. The one who hit him was a boy who looked only 8 or 9 years old, with a pink and jade-like appearance and was wearing a green dress. However, the words the boy spoke sounded old-fashioned, as if he was older than Chu Lingui. Seeing this person appear, Chu Linggui's face turned completely dark, his eyelids twitched wildly, and he looked very afraid. Tong Yemu, it's you, are you not dead yet? Of course it's your grandpa and me. You're not dead, so how could I die? I just want to crush you and make you an old man so angry. The boy laughed loudly, glanced around, and when he saw me Luo, his eyes flashed. Liang said, little girl, we meet again. Your business without capital in Mogan Nebula is doing very well. When will you take me to play? We will split the things stolen from the demons in half. Bai Luo smiled slightly. Bai Luo has met Senior Tong. As long as Senior likes it, I will definitely inform Senior when I prepare to reopen in the future. Ha, little girl, it's settled. You can't lie to such a lovely and respectable old man like me. The boy in green suddenly became happy, smiled broadly, and waved his hand casually, flashing the one on his hand. The black ball of electric light was thrown towards the ground. The old guy Chu Linggui's sky-splitting finger is a bit tricky. It seems to be indifferent, but in fact it is the most vicious. It's better to throw it out, otherwise it will hurt the flowers and plants and the kids. As soon as he finished speaking, the black ball with flashing electric light had already landed in the depths of the big pit on the ground. There was no earth-shattering roar, and there was no dazzling light and shadow. It was just that the blackness spread, and the huge hole on the ground spread. The rock below the pit melted into the spreading blackness, and silently opened a large hole several kilometers long. The hole seemed to be bottomless. Just when many people took a slight breath of cold air, a little bit of golden brilliance spurted out from the large hole in the ground along with the full breath of divine power. Is there a treasure underground? Everyone was stunned for a moment, even the boy in green was stunned. He looked at his hands, scratched his head, and said to himself, Grandma, what kind of luck is this? It's all possible. Arrive. Then, at this moment, I saw a shining golden horse rushing out of the void through the underground cave. The golden horse's whole body was flashing with golden light, but its body was as clear and holy as crystal, and its whole body was full of energy. With a strong aura of divine power, the golden horse rushed out of the underground cave for thousands of meters into the void. It looked at the stunned people in the sky. It seemed a little frightened, then turned its head, and its body was in the sky. Leaving behind a ray of light, he disappeared into the cave at the bottom of the pit in the blink of an eye. This is the legendary Pegasus. Someone thought of something and shouted excitedly. Then, a figure rushed down like lightning. He was 10,000 meters away in an instant, but without saying a word, Chu Lingui was the first to rush towards the underground cave. Golden Summoner. Author, Zyu. Chapter 1157. He, you old man, do you want to monopolize the benefits without saying a word? I discovered this underground treasure. I have to go in first. How can I get your turn? Tong Yemu watched Chu Lingui rushing towards the underground cave, and he also laughed strangely, and with a flash of his body, he rushed towards the big pit below, not forgetting to point his hand in the air, and then everyone watched. Reaching the figure of Chu Lingui, he suddenly hit a piece of void spider web that suddenly appeared. His legs were caught by the spider web, and his figure suddenly stagnated. In the blink of an eye, Tong Yemu had already crossed Chu Lingui. Rushed into the underground cave first. Chu Lingui let out an angry roar, ignited a flame on his body, burned the cobwebs around him in the blink of an eye, and then entered the underground cave for the second time. Other people in the sky were also rushing towards the ground at this time. Choose Hongaiyu, for example, felt guilty when he noticed Ziking's eyes glaring over at him. He didn't dare to stay here any longer, so he quickly rushed down. But in the blink of an eye, the remaining people appeared above the big hole in the ground. Running out. The three people who originally flew with Chu Lingui and Chu's Hongaiyu did not rush down. Instead, they flew to Xiaopinggan and Bai Luo first and hugged their fists. Miss Mi Luo, Mr. Chan, Miss Ziking, the three of us and Chu's Hongaiyu have met twice before. We just know each other. This time we met again after entering the secret realm of Netherworld City. We came together just now when we saw a strange thing here. What Chu's Hongaiyu did, we don't know anything about it, and we don't want to get involved in the Chu family's grievances. I'd like to explain it to the three of you to avoid misunderstanding. I'll take my leave. After one of the three people finished speaking, the three of them quickly flew towards the underground cave. It turns out that the three of them are not from the Chu family. I thought they were all from the Chu family. Watching the three people leave, Ziking turned her beautiful eyes and said to Xiaopinggan and Mi Luo. Biluo's eyes flashed with energy. Even if the Chu family is a top-notch ancient god blood descendant family, once the Dragon God's cave is opened, they won't be able to get 5 people at a time. Is it really easy to get the Dragon God scales? These 3 people are smart people. They don't want to be misunderstood by us and get involved in the bad things of the Chu family. That's why they stayed at the end to explain to us that Chu Lingui and Chu's Hongaiyu were here just now and they were embarrassed to express their position. All I can do is say nothing. Brother Cicada, this is what you just said. From now on, I will be your sworn sister, and you will be my brother. We will be sworn brothers and sisters from now on. You must not go back on your word. Ziking happily flew to Xiaopinggan. Innocently she held Xiaopinggan's hand innocently, her eyes turned into crescent moons with smiles. I used to want to have a brother who could help me when others bullied me, but I didn't expect that I actually have one. Let's see who dares to bully me in the future. I keep my word, and you will be my sister from now on. Xiaopinggan also smiled. He was reminded of 11 Qing's innocent and clever temperament, as well as her courage to take on the responsibility of kindness and justice in times of crisis. Xiaoning, it's not bad to have such a sister. As he spoke, Xiaopinggan thought for a while, then moved his hand and took out a golden array plate and handed it to Ziking. I don't have anything on me. This array I made the disc myself, so I gave it to you for self-defense. It may come in handy at critical moments. Thank you, brother. Xiaopinggan glanced at the diamond-shaped token and felt that it was made of several precious materials comparable to ancient orichalcum. He didn't know what the token was used for. Since Ziking said it was just her token, he also accepted it. Seeing that the two of them officially recognized each other as brother and sister, Mi Luo smiled and said, I would like to congratulate you too. After entering the Jiao God's cave, one has gained a brother and the other has gained a sister. Ziking rolled her eyes. Then I still have to thank Sister Maluo. No need thank me. Thank you Sister Maluo for finding me such a good brother. Biluo's face turned a little red again, and she glared at Ziking. Ziking stuck out her tongue and quickly changed the subject. Sister Biluo, Brother Cicada, let's go down too. That Pegasus is a treasure. It's better to find the treasure golden toad. Yes, we can't let them take the lead. Xiaopinggan shook his head and looked at the underground cave with a deep look. Don't worry, I just made a prediction. I'm afraid there may be some dangers and twists and turns down here. Let them go in first. The powerful Pegasus won't be so easy. Got caught. The result of my divination is the same. Mi Luo glanced at Xiaopinggan. There were so many people just now that I didn't have the chance to ask you why you suddenly became so powerful. The 9th level clone of the Black Feather God. Being able to explode with one punch, did you still deliberately hide your strength when you faced Du Yunji before? Yeah. Ziking suddenly became energetic again. Brother, you are so powerful. I was dumbfounded just now. Brother, You haven't ignited more than 10 rays of divine flames, have you? I have just ignited the 8th ray of divine flame. Xiaopinggan spread his hands and said to the two women, I did not lie when I faced Du Yunji. I was really working hard at that time. This time my strength has improved greatly. Because I have been practicing a secret method for a long time and invested a lot, but there has been no breakthrough. This time, after integrating Taishu Yuankai, the secret method finally broke through and produced a qualitative change. Okay, don't be nervous. I believe you. I think you were shocked just now. The few people had just said a few words when they felt the ground beneath their feet shaking slightly, and the fluctuations of divine power from the divine skills were also coming from the underground. The three of them looked at each other. There's really something going on underground, Ziking said in surprise. I guess the first wave of people who entered have already encountered trouble. Maluo also nodded, we will almost be able to go in. If we wait a little longer, more and more people will arrive here. Xiaopinggan nodded. Just a few minutes later, the vibrations on the ground became more and more intense. Suddenly, black smoke burst out of the ground, rising into the sky from the ground with a radius of thousands of miles, forming a huge black umbrella in the sky. The dark wind blew, and black snowflakes floated in the sky in the blink of an eye. At this moment, almost everyone in the secret realm saw it. That's earth evil yin qi mixed with corpse qi. Maluo was surprised. I'm afraid the things underground are not simple. We can almost go down and take a look. After Xiaopinggan said, he was the first to rush towards the entrance of the underground cave, and Maluo and Ziking also quickly followed. In the blink of an eye, the three of them entered the depths of the underground cave from the entrance. Once inside, the three of them discovered that at the end of the passage was an extremely huge underground space. In the underground space, looking around, there are 8 passages leading to different places, and within those passages, there are huge and ancient tombs everywhere, with a gloomy air, and countless green fireflies flashing in the underground caves. Some of the tombs had cracked open, indicating that something had crawled out of the tombs. Xiaopinggan looked at the cracked tombs and saw that the tombstones on those tombs all had words like, Tomb of the God of XXX or something similar. Epitaph. There are 4 or 5 battle groups in this underground space. They are all the powerful gods who entered here just now. They are fighting with corpses covered with black energy, with pale faces and wearing tattered armor or robes. Just one looking at the corrosion level of some of the armor, you don't know how many thousands of years it has been buried here, and the combat power of those corpses is also very terrifying. Those corpses have no idea how much earthly evil energy they have absorbed in the ground. Each corpse is like it is as if he has developed a divine body, which is indestructible. This is the cemetery of the gods in Netherworld City. My God, how come there are so many gods buried here? It seems that these gods have been sleeping here for many thousands of years. The corpses of these gods are like this in Netherworld City. It's like the residents of this place are completely activated when outsiders enter. Ziking was also shocked by what he saw in front of him. Faced with this situation, Xiaopinggan and Maluo had a tacit understanding and made another hexagram at the same time. Then they looked at the middle passage that seemed to be the largest and had the most tombs, then nodded slightly, and then 3 people rushed towards the middle passage. Golden Summoner. Author, Zyu. Chapter 1158. The passage is extremely wide and extends underground. The further you go underground, the larger the space becomes. The rich earth evil energy permeates the passage like curtains, making the entire passage extremely cold. The surrounding areas of the passage there are black crystals condensed from the evil energy of the earth everywhere. Giant tombs like hills can be seen everywhere in the passage. Many tombs have cracked, and the terrain has also changed somewhat. There are powerful gods and powerful ones. The traces of the battle should be the people who entered before and the people here. Be careful, the earthly evil yin qi here is too strong. I don't know how many thousands of years of earthly evil yin qi have gathered here. When the powerful gods enter here, their strength will be suppressed by the earthly evil yin qi, while the strength of those yin zombies will be strengthened. As MaleProtagonist spoke, she took the initiative to take out her divine weapon and prepared for battle. Ziking also took out her green stem treasure lotus. The green stem treasure lotus was indeed a sacred object. As soon as she took it out, the treasure lotus bloomed with a hazy blue brilliance. The earth evil spirits around it, when they encountered the treasure lotus, the cyan light automatically moved away, unable to get close to Ziking's body. Xiaopingyan felt the environment here. Strangely enough, he didn't feel any suppression. His Minghuang Wujian divine body was not affected at all in such an environment. To these gods and corpses who are sleeping here, we should be regarded as saboteurs who violently broke into their homes. If we can, we should try not to do anything. Everything is easy to discuss, Xiaopingyan muttered. Brother, how do we discuss this with these inferi? Can we still sit down and talk to them? Ziking asked. Of course there is a way. Xiaopingyan just said. The evil spirit in front shook violently, and with a shrill roar that pierced people's eardrums, a huge tomb on the ground suddenly cracked open, and a man almost 3 meters tall with white hair and a divine yin corpse wearing rotten armor, suddenly turned into a black light and rushed directly towards Xiaopingyan, who was flying in front of the three of them. The nails on the hands of the yin corpse were almost a foot long, and the black nails are like poisonous daggers, piercing the void. The yin corpse carried a strong corpse aura, and the earthly evil yin qi had turned into clusters of dark green corpse fire around his body, which was extremely terrifying. Generally, burning flames would bring high temperatures, and the yin corpse, when the surrounding corpse fire burns, the temperature will become even lower, making the surrounding space seem to be frozen and stagnant. Be careful. MaleProtagonist whispered, and moved her hand on her phoenix guqin. In front of Xiaopingyan, a spatial ripple spread like ripples. On the space ripples, there was a violent roar in the air, and there was a loud collision of gold and iron. The ripples shattered, and the yin corpse was also bounced away by the huge force of the shock. The power of MaleProtagonist's natal artifact was huge, but after touching the infernal corpse, the hands and nails of the infernal corpse were unscathed, comparable to artifacts. The violent fluctuations spread, and several giant tombs as high as hills were shaken on the ground. 5 yin corpses broke out of the tombs at once, and rushed towards Xiaopingyan and the others with corpse fire all over their bodies. And the inferi that had just been pushed back let out a low roar again and pounced on it again. Facing the 6 cold corpses of the gods, MaleProtagonist and Ziking both changed their expression slightly. Let me do it, Xiaopingyan said, and when he moved his hand, a golden light bloomed in his hand. The divine soul flag evolved from Chao's spiritual skill suddenly appeared in his hand, and Xiaopingyan held it up. The soul flags are like layers of giant umbrellas stacked on top of each other, with a total of 21 layers. Each layer has various secret patterns and decorations, and there are also bells hanging on it, rotating slowly, with gentle golden ones. The brilliance bloomed on the divine soul flag, and as soon as the divine soul flag appeared, the surrounding rich earthly evil yin qi suddenly condensed into black lotuses floating in the air, and became solemn. The movements of the 6 divine yin corpses that rushed towards the 3 people slowed down suddenly, and then stopped in the air. The expressionless faces of the divine yin corpses, which were originally as expressionless as ice cubes and only had an angry look, actually suddenly he looked confused. Heaven's heart is kind and benevolent, and his body is smooth and fused with gold. It is hard to separate from the confusion, and it rises and falls repeatedly. It restores the ancestral nature, and the creation is profound. When the wood is obtained, the metal is extracted, and the metal is removed from the wood, and the mutual invasion is stopped. The essence becomes a wandering soul, and the master enters the heart. In the dark time, the traces are hard to find. Everything is revealed from nothing, and the past is revealed to the present. The soul is in peace, the soul is victorious over the soul, ghosts and gods are in love. Knock on the entrance. Step into the cloud mountain. Flowers and stones moisten the pines and the wind softens. The piano relieves the boredom, and the wine blooms. The heart is full of love, rest assured. All realms are destroyed, but I am stubborn. The 9 yangs have returned. The 6 yins have been deleted. The collection of 8 treasures is full of golden light. The melting body shines, and the colorful clouds bloom. The true form is too seamless. We welcome the immortal guests and cross the earthly world. As Xiaopinggan's mouth fluctuated and murmured, the faces of the 6 divine yin corpses gradually showed a solemn look, and their anger disappeared little by little, and finally became calm and peaceful. The 6 yin corpses actually faced Xiaopinggan. The 3 of them nodded, and then each turned around and flew back to their giant tomb. It's really negotiable. Ziking murmured to herself, looking at Xiaopinggan as if looking at a treasure. Miluo looked at Xiaopinggan with brilliant eyes. The longer she stayed with Xiaopinggan, the more she felt that Xiaopinggan was unfathomable and could always surprise people when it was impossible. In this way, Xiaopinggan turned the soul flag in his hand, and all the evil spirits along the way turned into black lotuses. The giant tombs seen along the way were no longer moving or blocking, and the 3 of them moved forward directly to we reached the deepest part of the underground cave. Along the way, around the giant tombs and in the depths of the caves, blackened and decayed corpse fragments can be seen almost everywhere, thousands of them. The bones include those of humans, some of them are inhuman, and some of those of strange animals, which is shocking. Shocking. These bone fragments should be left by the strong men who died here before. Some of the bones still have obvious traces and holes left by fingernails. Miluo said. This passage was more than 100 miles long in total. When the 3 of them reached the end of the passage, they were shocked by the sight that appeared in front of them. What appeared in front of the 3 people was a splendid underground palace. The strong yin energy of the earth surrounded the palace, but they could not enter. The whole palace was like the rising sun, full of light, majestic, and holy. The 3 of them stood in the vast square outside the palace, feeling that everything in front of them was like a dream. This is where the yin and yang are born under the secret realm of Netherworld City. If there is any treasure in the secret realm of Netherworld City, it must be here, Ziking said excitedly. But Xiaopinggan's eyes looked at the 2 words Huangji on the tower outside the palace in front, and his heart was slightly shocked. Those 2 talismans are the same as what we saw on the top of the mountain before. Miluo's eyes also fell on the word Huangji. It's been the first time in thousands of years that someone has been able to come here in Huangji Palace. The 3 of you, not bad, not bad. A voice suddenly appeared in the sea of consciousness of the 3 of them. The sound that suddenly appeared in the sea of consciousness shocked Xiaopinggan and the other 3. Who are you? Xiaopinggan asked immediately. Ha ha ha, you came to the secret realm of Netherworld City and passed through the tomb of the god, but you didn't know who I was, the voice in the consciousness laughed, but after a moment, the laughter stopped and he sighed. Oh, forget it, I don't blame you, don't talk about you, I have almost forgotten who I am. This Huangji Palace has been deserted for thousands of years, it seems that it is destined to be lively today. As soon as the voice fell, a violent roar came from the evil spirit outside the square of Huangji Palace. Just a flicker of light and shadow, and the figure of Tong Yemu with a boyish face suddenly appeared in the square. At this moment, Tong Yemu's clothes were a little torn, his face was a little charred, and he looked a little embarrassed. In his hand, he was holding a strange artifact like a compass, and there was a strong aura of artifact fluctuations on the artifact. Ah, the 3 of you actually got here before me, Tong Yemu looked surprised when he saw Xiaopinggan and the others. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1159. Senior arrived very quickly, we just found a shortcut, Milo replied. Lan. Oh, this is a dig into the grave of the secret realm of Netherworld City. Why are there so many divine corpses in the underground? Even my old man is almost included in them, Tong Yemu murmured, and he had already put it away. He picked up the treasure in his hand, then looked down at the damaged clothes on his body, scratched his head and smiled sheepishly. I made you juniors laugh, saying, with a wave of his hand, his body flashed with light, and his whole body suddenly changed into a brand new outfit and became more orderly. Tong Yemu, you old man, you dare to trick me, you and I are incompatible. At this moment, an angry voice came again from the evil spirits of the earth, and there was a loud bang. Chu Linggui's whole body was like a cannonball, vomiting blood, disheveled hair, shooting out from the earthly evil energy, and landed on the square outside Huangji Palace. As soon as his feet landed, he took a few steps back before standing. Stable. Looking at Chu Linggui's appearance, he was even more embarrassed than Tong Yemu, and even injured. Chu Lingui, who just took a breath, had no time to be shocked by the magnificence of the Huangji Palace in front of him, and then he saw what was already standing in front of him. Xiaoping'an and the other three people here had surprised looks on their faces. You, why are you here? Humph, what do you care about? The road is in the sky, we can come whenever we want. Ziking rolled her eyes at Chu Lingui. Chu Lingui, you shameless old guy, what were you yelling at just now? Do you want to settle a score with me now? Tong Yemu tilted his head and looked at Chu Lingui. He smiled strangely, with a malicious look on his face. Chu Lingui looked at Tong Yemu, then at the other three people who looked like Chang Xiaoping'an. He weighed it in his mind, and his expression changed slightly. A pair of small eyes swept around several people, especially Xiaoping'an and the other three people. Appearing here as if nothing had happened made him feel a little nervous. After weighing the situation in his mind like lightning, Chu Linggui's face actually showed a look of relief, and his voice suddenly became much calmer. The environment here is dangerous, I can't do it now. I will quarrel with you internally and undermine the overall situation, so as not to be taken advantage of by the enemy, and I will settle accounts with you when I go out. TCH, you old guy, you have a guilty conscience. You are afraid that we will join forces to destroy you here, and you still pretend to be a big deal. Even if you go outside, you will be repaired by me. Grandpa, I will always be able to overwhelm you. Tong Yemu glanced at Chu Lingui with disdain, and revealed Chu Linggui's thoughts with one word. Lan. Xiaoping'an also glanced at Chu Lingui coldly, with a mocking smile on his lips. Ha ha ha, very good, are there two more? The voice that appeared in Xiaoping'an's sea of consciousness just now sounded again, and this time, everyone heard it. Tong Yemu and Chu Ling. There was still a trace of astonishment on Gui Gui's face. I opened the gate of Huangji Palace. The biggest treasure in the secret realm of Netherworld City is in the main hall where I am. There are many tests between the palace gate and the main hall. You guys, if you want a baby, come and see if you have this ability. As soon as the voice fell, the originally closed door under the tower of Huangji Palace opened with a bang, revealing an illusory and looming hall in Huangji Palace. Between the palace gate and the hall, there were green mountains, green water, sun, moon, and stars. All kinds of light and shadow changes, as if in a wonderful environment. Xiaoping'an and Milo Ziking glanced at each other. The three of them had a tacit understanding, and without saying anything, they leaped towards the open door of Huangji Palace. Tong Yemu smacked his lips and glanced at the backs of Xiaoping'an and the others. Three little kids dare to go, what can I not dare to do? After saying that, he laughed and quickly followed Xiaoping'an and the others. Pace, ha ha ha, wait for me, let's be friends together, so that no monsters jump out and scare me again. Chu Lingui looked at Huangji Palace and the backs of several people from behind, his eyes flashed with a hint of sinister look, and then he also leapt towards Huangji Palace, but he did not rush in front of Xiaopingan and the others. He did not join Xiaopingan and the others, but deliberately fell behind Xiaopingan and the others. The one from the Chu family has bad intentions. He wants us to take the lead, and he will take advantage from behind. If there is danger, he will stab him again. Bai Luo glanced behind him slightly and sent a message to Xiaopingan. Lan. Don't worry, if he wants to die, I will help him. The situation is unknown now, so let's not act rashly. The space between the palace gate and the main hall does not look simple, so be careful. In the blink of an eye, Xiaopingan and others arrived in front of the palace gate. The four of them jumped into the palace gate almost at the same time, and disappeared like a few gravels sprinkled into the surging river. Chu Lingui rushed up from behind. He looked at the changing light and shadow inside the palace gate and frowned because there was no trace of the four people inside. After hesitating for 2 seconds, he gritted his teeth and his whole body he stepped into the palace gate and disappeared instantly. 2 hours after the 5 people entered the palace gate, light and shadow flashed in the square outside Huangji Palace, and people came here one after another. Those people who came here had different temperaments. After looking at the open door of Huangji Palace, after the gate, they also entered the palace gate one by one. Lan Xiaopingan, who jumped into the palace gate, only felt that his eyes were blurred, and he appeared in a mountain range. Next to him was a rocky cliff, surrounded by dense pines and cypresses, and verdant green. Looking around, he saw thousands of bamboo poles stretching in the distance. Chinjai, a small stream, extends from under your feet into the bamboo sea in the distance. You can also see a wooden house and yard on the edge of the bamboo sea, and it seems that someone lives here. This Huangji Palace is indeed strange. Xiaopingan carefully looked around and found that it felt like he was in a fragment of the kingdom of God or in a secret realm. There was no danger around, so he followed his lead. The stream walked towards the small wooden house courtyard beside the bamboo forest. When I walked outside the small courtyard of the wooden house, I saw an old woman with grey and dry hair but clean and simple clothes grinding an iron pestle on a boulder by the stream, making a rustling sound. Xiaopingan took a deep breath and walked over. The old woman who was grinding the iron pestle turned around and showed a kind face. "Young man, are you lost? I am in the Elephant Ear Mountain, but I haven't seen you for a long time. Someone is here. I'm about to ask Grandma how to leave Elephant Ear Mountain." Xiaopingan saluted the cupped hand and bowed to ask. "I'll give you 3 chances. As long as you can guess what I'm doing here grinding this iron pestle, I'll tell you how to get out of here," the old woman said. Xiaopingan smiled. "Grandma is here grinding needles with an iron pestle, Lan." The old woman had a look of surprise on her face and asked deliberately, "This pestle is so big, why do you think I'm grinding needles with it here? Although the iron pestle is big, it can also be turned into a needle when the time comes. Mortal people only see Grandma here grinding needles, but they don't know that what she is grinding here is heart, nature, karma, and cultivation. Immortal Kung Fu, Lao Jun's secret method, grinding needles with wood, diamonds, and iron pestles are all in this way. The day when the stone is pierced by the needle, that is when the mind can transform into a transcendent realm and become a saint, and the great road becomes simple." After hearing Xiaopingan's words, the old woman smiled, and looked at Xiaopingan with eyes full of kindness and relief. "You, a young man, have a deep connection with the immortal world and are destined to the Tao. I have met thousands of people here, and there is no one like you. If you are like this, you have seen through the secret method of grinding needles and piercing stones taught by this old gentleman, and you will definitely be ranked among the immortals in the future, with unlimited future. Thank you for the compliment, my mother-in-law. Her perseverance is truly admirable." 360 steps along this stream, there is a bamboo gate. After passing through the bamboo gate, you can leave this place. I will give you this needle. You may be able to use it in the future, the old woman said. There was an extra embroidery needle in his hand, which he gave to Xiaopingan. Golden Summoner. Author, Zyu. Chapter 1160. Thank you, mother-in-law. After Xiaopingan thanked him, he took the embroidery needle the old woman gave him and walked along the gurgling stream towards the bamboo forest. As he walked, he looked at the embroidery needle in his hand. An embroidery needle. This embroidery needle looks no different from an ordinary embroidery needle. It is ordinary, but Xiaopingan knows that this is by no means an ordinary embroidery needle, because this embroidery needle is in his hand. The weight is 10,000 caddies. Lan. And what surprised Xiaopingan the most was that he felt a hint of the breath of a divine weapon on this embroidery needle. This made Xiaopingan's heart beat fast. If it was a divine weapon, then it would be released. But, what is the use of this embroidery needle? Xiaopingan tried to control the embroidery needle using the method of controlling the artifact, but found that the embroidery needle had no response at all, which made Xiaopingan scratch his head. In the end, he simply threw the embroidery needle into the warehouse of the secret mandala. Put it in the middle and study it slowly when you have time. After walking 360 steps along the stream to the bamboo forest, Xiaopingan saw a green bamboo door standing on the edge of the stream. The mist inside the bamboo door rolled and swirled. Faintly there was light flashing inside, which should lead to other places. Xiaopingan was not polite, came to the bamboo door and stepped in with one foot. What is this place? Looking at the space in front of him, Xiaopingan frowned slightly. At this moment, he was floating in the void and didn't know where he was. Lan. There was a vast expanse of white all around, no sky, no land, only thick fog. The fog was a bit cold, with a hint of inexplicable evil aura, which made Xiaopingan feel wary. Xiaopingan waved his hand, and the fog in the surrounding space seemed to be swept away by a strong wind. Came, but in the blink of an eye it was filled with new fog. He wanted to summon Xuanhuan, but found that the summoning technique could not be used in this vast white space. Xiaopingan pinched his fingers and closed his eyes to sense, and found that this space was not a formation, and there was no atmosphere of the formation. Interesting, what do you want to test in this scene? Xiaopingan said to himself, looked around, and then flew forward to see how big the space was. But when flying in such a place, all the white mist flying around is retreating, and the white mist is coming in. There are no coordinates and no reference objects. It feels exactly the same wherever you fly. It really makes people a little crazy. The scene in front of him reminded Xiaopingan of the Sea of Mist, the hometown of the Heavenly King sect that he had visited a long time ago. Xiaopingan flew in one direction for almost half an hour, but saw nothing, as if he was still where he was. Suddenly, the fog in front rolled, and a figure emerged from the fog in front. Apparently, it was Bai Luo. When Bai Luo saw Xiaopingan, his eyes lit up. Ah, you are here too, and then he quickly flew towards Xiaopingan. Mi Luo, are you here too, Lan? Yes, I just passed a level in front of the passage and came here. The two approached quickly, but just when Mi Luo was about to get close to Xiaopingan, Xiaopingan's eyes suddenly turned cold, and he suddenly punched out, hitting Mi Luo's head directly. The terrifying punch force instantly it erupted from Xiaopingan's hand, the void surged, the mist rolled, and the fog within tens of thousands of meters was swept away by Xiaopingan's punch. Boom! Mi Luo's shocked look was still on his face, his head had been exploded by Xiaopingan's punch, and his whole body was shattered into pieces by Xiaopingan's punch, but there was no flesh and blood, just turned into a ball of mist. It exploded and blended into the surrounding fog, as if it had never appeared before. Xiaopingan's eyes flashed as he scanned the surroundings, with a disdainful smile on his lips. Don't be sneaky, it's just this little trick, it's too disappointing for me. GG. The weird and hoarse laughter echoed in the mist, with a hint of mischief. You can actually find out that I am fake, you have such good eyesight, you are really an interesting man, you can tell me what I just said. Is there something wrong with the woman I pretend to be, that you can see through it at a glance? Xiaoping's eyes moved. What's the benefit of telling you me, Lan? In this way, each of us can ask each other a question. I can answer your question first, and then you can answer mine. This is fair. Okay, who are you? Xiaoping asked. I am the master of this mirage illusion. Everyone who enters the mirage illusion is my pet. No pet has entered the mirage illusion for many thousands of years. Don't worry, I will entertain you well. That the voice laughed again with evil intentions, and then asked, okay, now it's your turn to tell me what's wrong with the woman I just pretended to be. There is nothing wrong with the appearance of the bilogo you pretend to be. Then how do you know I'm fake? This is the second question. Xiaoping's eyes moved. Okay, you can ask another question, Lan. How do you treat your pet? Do you want to prepare to kill me? No, 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 how could I kill you? Since it is a pet, I just want you to play with me in this mirage illusion. It is best to play with me for tens of thousands of years. When will you wait? I'm tired of you, I'll let you out again. The voice sighed faintly. I've been here alone for too long, and I forgot that there is still time. The greatest torture in the world is actually loneliness. So, everyone who comes here is equivalent to entering a cage. If you want to leave, you must break the shackles of this cage. Hey, you can't break it, now it's your turn to answer my question. Xiaoping smiled and said calmly, as for why I know that the bilogo you pretend to be is fake, the reason is very simple, because before we came to Jiaoshen Cave, we had considered various situations and agreed to separate here. The secret language for meeting again later is to prevent someone from pretending to be us. For gods of our level, it is easy to change a different face. So that's it, you humans are really cunning. Because you don't want to kill me, I will spare your life. I don't have time to spend time with you here. If you ask me to leave, I won't touch you, Lan. Quack, 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 the voice laughed wildly, as if it had heard something funny. If you want to touch me, do you know how to touch me? Here, I am God, and I am the only one who can touch others. Where can I if someone touches me? Your human spells are very interesting. If you perform a few interesting spells now and make me happy, maybe I can save you from staying here for a few years. Really? It's a pity that you are not a god, you are just a mirage that cannot be made a god. Ah, how do you know that I am a mirage? The voice was a little surprised, but as soon as he finished speaking, he seemed to realize that he had let the slip, and quickly shut up, and then sneered, so what if you knew, since you already enter my fantasy, everything here is controlled by me. In your illusion, ordinary people cannot hurt you, but you have forgotten that there are always exceptions to everything. I don't believe what you can do to me. You really can't shed tears until you see the coffin, Xiaoping said, but was too lazy to say anything else. The next second, he picked up a finger in his hand and began to temper the Ming Wangwujian divine body. His whole body suddenly like a black hole, it began to crazily swallow and absorb the surrounding fog, because Xiaoping absorbed the fog too fast. In just a moment, the thick fog in this space gradually disappeared outside Xiaoping's body. A huge cyclone formed. At the beginning, the voice claiming to be the master of the Mirage God illusion was indifferent, but after just a moment, the voice began to become panicked and even screamed, "Ah, stop, stop, what kind of power is this? The law can actually refine the mirage that engulfs me. Stop, stop quickly, ah, please, I'll let you out, don't engulf me. Lan." At the back, the voice had become extremely frightening, and then a space portal appeared instantly next to Xiaoping. Others may not know that in your illusion, these mirages are actually your body. Do you want me to leave now? I don't want to leave yet. When I refine you, it will be easy for me to leave here. Despicable human, you, I'll kill you, roar. The voice suddenly became angry and roared, and then in the sky beside Xiaopinggan, countless the mist condensed and turned into a huge god with a height of 10,000 meters. The god opened his eyes angrily, roared, and punched Xiaopinggan on the head, his fist hitting down like a mountain. Xiaopinggan smiled disdainfully and punched out. The huge god's body instantly shattered into mist. It's an 8th level god. No wonder he can't become a god, but that's it? Xiaopinggan increased his absorption, and the area of the cyclone surrounding him almost doubled again. The next second, thousands of arrows were lost, and the swords were fired at Xiaopinggan at a terrifying speed. Xiaopinggan ignored him and simply closed his eyes, allowing those swords and arrows to hit him without being able to hurt him. He doesn't have a scent. Then, the sky turned black, and countless purple thunder fell, hitting Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan still closed his eyes and endured it calmly, not caring. Lan. The huge god who was 10,000 meters tall appeared again and slashed down on Xiaopinggan's head with a 10,000-meter long sword that was burning with flames. Xiaopinggan still closed his eyes and didn't even move. The god's long sword slashed at his body. The sword was shattered, but not a single hair on Xiaopinggan's body fell off. The terror of Ming Wangwujian's divine body was fully revealed. In this illusion, various attacks appeared one after another, constantly hitting Xiaopinggan's body, but Xiaopinggan always closed his eyes, swallowing the mirage, and never even opened his eyes again. And that voice gradually changed from angry and frightened to wailing and begging for mercy.